Okay, this example we have to find the length of the side. Now, if you are looking at it, and I know most of you have attempted it, what you'll find is you're going to end up with x on the bottom of the fraction, which is different to the ones we've done before. But let's do the steps the same way. First step, you've got a triangle. What do you do to that triangle? Excellent.
Let's say 5.
You're already at one.
Now, you've got opposite and hypotenuse. So what's our ratio that we're using? Sine. Excellent. And yes, I'm still writing down the whole equation.
It is totally different.
Okay. Next thing, we're going to write down what everything is. Theta is 42 degrees. Opposite is 29.2 centimetres. And the adjacent hypotenuse, isn't it? Equals x. Let's get rid of that red line, don't know what's there. Alright, next thing, substitute in.
Wait, no. That's shit, I got it wrong. Why did I put
This is burning.
I'm surprised it hasn't disintegrated yet.
Burn.
Disintegrated.
Disintegrated. I don't like that.
It's when she yells at people, they disintegrate. Okay.
That's disintegrate.
I just like the knowledge part.
Okay, this is where we're at. I'm assuming that most of you guys are at least at this point, correct? Okay? Now, what I want you to do is do what we've talked about before. I want you to do what we've talked about before. Think about what your end game is. What do you want your answer to look like?
X equals.
Brilliant. Let's go down there and go x equals. That's where you want to go.
Make it easy.
Now, this is trigonometry, but it doesn't matter if it's just normal algebra or trigonometry or whatever. If I had this, if I just wrote it as normal algebra, let's go say y equals g over x. And we want to make x the subject. Okay?
Oh,
Don't
yes.
worry about what y is, don't worry about what g is. We just want to make x the subject. How do we do that? We undo what they've done to x. So x is being divided by x. So how do we get rid of the x off that side?
Times.
Times by x, and we have to do it to this side as well. So you end up with xy equals g. Now we want it to be x equals. Now I've got x times y. What do? Divide what? So I divide both sides by y.
And then you get
What do you end up with?
G over Y.
G over y.
I got this completely wrong.
So where
No.
to
Why J?
Because I want to get x on its own. That says x times y.
So then we times.
If that wasn't a y, if that was a 5, if it said 5x, you'd all be very happy to say, well, you divide by 5.
Yep.
Y is just a number that we don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Surly, what's the issue, mate?
I don't know. I'll just keep going.
No. What's the issue?
Oh, it's just thought. I don't know.
No. What's the issue?
X and Y. Can you divide?
What about it? They're just numbers we don't know.
So can you divide like sine 42?
Wait 2 seconds. What's the issue? Yeah, they're just letters that they're numbers that we don't know. We don't know what numbers they are, so we're just going to put in a letter instead. If that was a 5 instead of a y, could you do it? What if it was bus?
Boss.
What if it was apple? It doesn't really matter. They are just labels.
Yeah.
Even the numbers we use, like 5, is just a label.
Don't we just have X 29.2?
Yeah, but at the moment I'm trying to show this. The fact that this is the way we do it, and we've done it in algebra, we've done it in manipulating algebraic equations, we've done it about 8 or 10 different topics. We've actually used this process,
Exactly.
where you're just undoing things. Cool? So if we go back to this one, and use the ones that we've got there.
So can you have a sign on the top of the fraction?
That is one thing.
Yeah.
Sine
Yeah,
42 is
So you
80.
can put that on the top of the fraction, can you?
Yeah,
So,
but why would you?
29.2 is?
Because don't you have to divide it to get on the other side?
Let's have a look. Okay. First things first, what do we do with that x? I don't like the x on the bottom of the fraction.
Times both sides together over there.
So we'll times both sides by
Get
x.
rid of it and put it over there. So it's X.
Okay? So we end up with x sine 42 equals 29.2.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then
Yeah?
you divide
I
it
got
so
that
you
bit.
get.
Is that, we all happy with that?
And then I divide.
Is anyone not happy with that particular bit?
Mhm.
Seriously, if you're not happy with it, tell me now.
I think I got it right.
All for everything.
9.5.
Okay? All we did was multiply both sides by the x to get the x off the bottom of the fraction. So now we've got x times blob. The blob happens to be sine 42. But we've got x times something. How do we get rid of that something?
Divide it together.
I'm gonna headache.
How do we get rid of it?
Drop it out.
If it had 5x, what would you do to the 5? Like if it had 5 times x, how would you get rid of the 5?
Divide.
Yeah,
Divide
you
by
have to
5.
divide.
So we've got x times sine 42. How do you get rid of the sine 42?
So you
Divide by
divide
sine
it.
42.
You divide it
Oh,
by sine 42. And you have to do it to both sides because otherwise it's not an equation. Everyone happy with that?
So it's sine 42.
So you end up with x equals, which is what we wanted,
Sine
29.2 over sine 42.
Oh, well then.
Because that is the same as saying 29.2 divided by sine 42. They're the same
I'm
thing.
just going to wait and see if it
Equals-
gets It's got syntax error. Oh no, I didn't close bracket. Wait a minute.
Close your bracket.
43. What? 0.6.
29.
Wait, how many did it? Yeah, 43.6.
Let's have a look. Oh, wrong one.
Hey!
X.
So we've got
Oh shit.
29.2 over sine 42, close the bracket.
Okay, I'm gonna work this out.
Yeah, right. I got a different answer.
Did you do it the way I said?
No.
That's why.
I didn't do any division.
Sorry?
Actually, I wrote one fraction. That's it.
If you didn't do any division, then you've gone wrong somewhere because you
done
need
the
it.
same as the first one. I don't know. What
But you can't because it's not the same as the first one.
Oh, so it's.
My elbow.
Right.
Oh, it's just.
Oh, right.
43.
Yeah, right.
Done and dusted. You go.
That's actually alright.
Now,
I didn't know you could just move the whole.
this is what I want you to get out of this. I've shown you how you move it across, but a few of you are still freaking out because, well, it's much more fun to freak out. If we've got this, sine 42 equals 29.2 over x, have a look at what we ended up with.
So all you gotta do is just.
X equals 29.2 over sine 42. They can swap.
Write that in green.
They've just swapped. What we did was we did a two-step process. We multiplied both sides by the x to get it away from the bottom of the fraction. Then we had to divide by the sine 42 to get it away from the x. Does that make sense? They're the two steps we did. Multiplied by the x, then divided by the sine 42. In the end, what you have done is you've swapped those two around.
That's all you know.
That's all you've done.
But then you just gotta show it. Yeah, you just have to show all you're working out.
Yeah, but if you're not happy with how you're doing that and you're getting confused, remember that you can swap them. As long as you write down that step and that step,
Yeah.
then you've shown me. You don't have to write these bits in purple every time if you're doing it correctly, if you're comfortable with it. They're there as a scaffold for you if you're not quite as happy with it as you might like to be.
I have too many bruises.
Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay? Just remember those.